Hey guys, so I want to welcome our first guest on the show.
Hey YouTube, what's going on? It's KillerMontage, and I just want to say thanks to Noctunes for the opportunity.
I know you're a big Resident Evil fan, so I'm looking forward to you joining me on today's review.
Well, thank you again, and without any further ado, I suppose we'll get this show on the road.
Now, tons of people may know that I'm a big fan of Resident Evil 2, and especially Resident Evil 4, but if there was one game that tops all of them in my opinion of living a real survival horror in the franchise, it would have to be Code Veronica. It's dark, spooky, and you can't get more isolated than being stuck on freaking Alcatraz with zombies. Okay, I know it's not Alcatraz, but yeah, it's freaking Alcatraz!
Going off of that, it's one of the last few Resident Evil games that actually had the feeling of what made the classics great, with a bit of a modern twist at the time. It still holds true today as its HD counterpart is up on PSN for all RE fans alike, with Claire Redfield returning as the main protagonist to continue her harrowing adventures against the onslaught of Umbrella's shadow. It brings out a certain rare and unique quality that's almost impossible to find in newer titles.
Personally, I own Code Veronica X on the GameCube, and oddly enough, I also picked up the Japanese Special Edition released for the Dreamcast. I was first introduced to this game years ago when my cousin got it for the Dreamcast. I can still recall the eerie suspense of sitting in the dark as a child, watching him play through the terrifying macabre of Rockford Island and unraveling the new mysteries that are in Resident Evil.
I think for me, I've always had this game since its PS2 version was released, but at this point my copy is so scratched up that I might as well buy the digital version on PSN.
Code Veronica was originally released on the Dreamcast. It was then later re-released as Code Veronica X with some minor changes to it. The gameplay and story are identical to each other. There's not much change other than some extra cutscenes, and I mean, when I played Code Veronica X, it felt like the original in experience and execution, if that makes any sense.
Code Veronica takes place shortly after Claire gets arrested while looking for her brother Chris. She gets sent off to Rockford Island, where the insanity begins. Through the adventures through the dark and desolate island, she meets Steve, who quickly becomes a love interest. There are some old faces on the island as well. Chris, who comes to the rescue for his sister, and Wesker returns to dick around with Chris and the big villain of the island. Leon is mentioned, but never appears in the game.
Yeah, Chris and Leon won't meet until Resident Evil 6. Yep, that's the only thing I enjoyed about that game.
The two of them meeting was your favorite part of RE6? Seriously?
Yes, sir.
Alright, moving on.
Darkside Chronicles, which was released for the Wii, is a rail shooter game that takes a lot of scenes from Resident Evil 2 and Code Veronica. I really like the re-envisioning of those two games with new graphics. Side note, pick up Darkside Chronicles. Claire looks awesome in this, and she's so hot.
Code Veronica is considered the true sequel to Resident Evil 2, whereas Resident Evil 3 Nemesis obviously takes place within Raccoon City.
So really, it should have gone something more like Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil Nemesis, and Resident Evil 3 Code Veronica. Am I right?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Overall, I'd say Code Veronica has been and always will be one of the more underappreciated Resident Evil games that have just been lost within a time frame of its creation and momentum. If you're a tried and true RE fan and are looking for some genuine Resident Evil horrific moments with some ingenious gameplay mechanics incorporated so as to spice up the old formula, you'll without a doubt fall in love with this game, as many others have. It doesn't at all feel too outdated when compared to its newer brethren, and is extremely authentic down to its very core as a Resident Evil game. If a fear of playing a deceptive or unconventional survival horror game is lying within the midst of your subconscious, you can now rest easy knowing that Code Veronica was one of the last few RE classics that tried everything in its power to revolutionize its identity and carry something unforgettable amidst its work.
Oh man, Code Veronica is brilliant, terrifying, and downright entertaining. Cheesy in some respects, but still very entertaining. I love the way this game expands on the exploration outside of Raccoon City and still isolates you. I personally feel like Resident Evil games didn't really hit the horror status that this one peaked out on. Honestly, even Resident Evil 4 didn't feel as spooky as Code Veronica. So if you ever get a chance to play or pick this up, I highly recommend it. Well, I want to thank you again, KillerMontage, for joining me to review this great game.
And thank you again for having me, I greatly appreciate it.
Now we are going to be best friends forevers.
No.
Hey guys, I want to thank you all for checking out this video of Code Veronica. I also want to give a super special thanks to my guest, KillerMontage. Click here to check out his channel and subscribe to him. He has great work on there and amazing reviews. I also released some new webcomics, so feel free to check those out and share them with friends. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Check out Patreon if you want to help out the show. It doesn't take more than $1 a month to get me the feels. You give me the feels with $1 a month. Those feels. If you're a YouTuber and would like to collab, please also comment with your idea. I would love to collab with more people. Finally, if you want to watch some of my old content, click here for our top 5 underappreciated games, or click here for some Math Blaster. Thanks!